Here we go. Now watch this. You can put his head up. Since we can see a head. Well, after that palaver, we got a strike. Got a bit of substrate in his mouth, which totally illustrates why I don't like him eating within his enclosure. Constricting at the moment. I'm expecting him to turn any time. Really, he'll release, and what I'll do, I'll get him to strike again, of which I'm confident that will happen, and we'll go from there. But at the minute, it looks like words are going to be static. He does keep opening his mouth. That's because, I was stupid, really. I tried to put some substrate away with the tweezers that I use for feeding the tongs. And he struck the tweezers, didn't he? And then got a bit of substrate in his mouth, and he's just trying to release that from his mouth now. But we got a second strike this time, the mice. And looks like he's got a bit of water in there from the mice for when I defrosted it. But why have I got it in the tub, you say? Well, I illustrated that just now. I'm feeding the tub. I induced a strike within this enclosure, and I feed it in the tub because I like to avoid, as you've just seen, a mouthful of substrate you had, and that's from a strike of the tongs. Now, if he was to strike the mice, he'd drag it right to the bottom, and we'd have a problem because he'd just ingest loads of substrate, and I don't want that. So what I've done is induced a strike, moved him up over to the enclosure, and we go from there. He's probably going to release now. Then I should get a second strike. If all goes well. Here we are. Let's see the second strike. And here we go. Like, I didn't realise, but I fed him 14 days ago, over that now. And it's like, I didn't think it was that long since the last video, but it must have been. Turn the box around that way. That's a better way of, that's a better way of filming. A bad situation turned, well, good. I knew he wanted food. He come at the substrate and he practically opened his mouth about 3 times. And that was his way of telling me, I'm hungry, please feed me. I was about to lie in bed, and after seeing that, oh, well, how could I resist? Then obviously I upload my videos to YouTube. Looked at the last feeding 14 days ago. And I'm like, wow, really? Didn't feel like that. For those of you who are wondering, this is the Kenyan Sandboa of the region Tanzania. And it is a Dodoma cross. It's 70% Dodoma. The other 30%, it's crossed with. But what it's crossed with, I don't know, because I bought this from a pet store and I wasn't given that information. But I wouldn't fuss anyway. It is a boy, and it's a chunky boy, and he does like his food, as I found out to my amusement. Well, you just seen. Some say feed fuzzy mice every 14 days, but I've read a lot of conflicting stories really around that. I go by the rule of, I've done my research and it looks like, well, for me, it's feed a male no bigger than a small mice, and a female no bigger than a medium. But making that a racket. I mean, I used to pick him up to put him back in his enclosure, and he tagged me once, and yeah, didn't know how to do it. He was a lot smaller than this, and it was just a quick grab and go. But yeah, I never made that mistake again. Instead, I found this way of doing it. What I do, I let him finish his food, and I let him release himself within his enclosure. And you'll see that in due course. Which, by the way, eliminates every risk of regurgitation. And the only reason they'll regurgitate the meal, I feed my hog nose on my hand sometimes, and he's not regurgitated for me. Oh, she hasn't, sorry. As if they trust you, I found. I'm not saying that people should do that. They definitely shouldn't. They should not, for sure. But, I know my animals the best. So, I'm definitely gonna do what works for me. As long as you don't regurgitate, it does them no harm. If you regurgitate, that can do a lot of damage. So I would, if I was to want to feed them and not have them feel defensive and associate you with food, I would feed them out of the enclosure. Maybe in a separate tub. Saying that, I feed my python within his enclosure. He doesn't associate me with food. So I would say it's totally down to the snake. In the first lockdown in the UK, I had one of my corn snakes go defensive on me, and I worked the whole of the lockdown, 3 months, to overturn his defensiveness. And I've done it with hard work and persistence. So you can do anything you want to within your animals. Anything is within your reach. You just have to work. I'm just turning it around now because I'm going to want you to see the end result. Bit of water there. Isn't there, boy? I love that part. When he opens his mouth. I know I've done that. I'll show you what I do next. So this is what I do next. He's in his enclosure. I'll walk out of the way. And I'll just let him do his thing. Yeah, the water bowl does need to clean out. He's obviously been in had a bit of a drink, which, yeah, that's okay. Bit of substrate in there, so I'll get that done in a bit. And this is what I do. This is really what I want to illustrate. Move it like that. That's what you've got to do. Then it comes up. Hurry up before my camera goes off. And that's kind of what he does. His head's down there now, it's probably going to pop up. His tail's there. And that's practically it, guys. That is how I feed my Sandboa. Cheers for watching, and I'll catch you all soon.